Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we've got something that, honestly, sounds like pure science fiction.
Right.
The news is everywhere. Could we, as adults, naturally regrow lost teeth? So we're diving in to find out, is this fake or real?
And our mission, using a whole stack of reputable research summarized for us by Notebook LM, is to figure out what the actual science says about this pretty revolutionary claim.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this isn't just about headlines. We're really focusing on the genuine recent work in dental regenerative medicine, specifically these incredibly exciting clinical trials that are coming out of Japan.
And we're going to compare that, biological approach to what we have now. Things like implants, bone grafts.
Which are still just sophisticated replacements.
Exactly. For, 100 years, if you lost a tooth, the answer was a substitute. A screw, a bridge, something synthetic. This is a total biological revolution. We're talking about shifting from replacement to regeneration. So let's get into it. Let's start with the core breakthrough that sparked all this attention.
Yeah.
So the biggest news is all focused on this one specific drug developed in Japan, right? A spinoff from Kyoto University.
That's the one.
And it's not a drill or a piece of hardware. It's a molecular intervention. So for everyone listening, what is this drug actually designed to do in our bodies?
Okay, so the drug is called TRG035, and it's what we call a monoclonal antibody.
Okay.
Which is just a very, very targeted molecule. It's designed to interrupt one specific biological signal, and that signal comes from a protein called USAG1.
USAG. Now, that stands for uterine sensitization associated gene 1.
It is a mouthful, yeah.
It's a strange name.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's about tooth growth, why is it named after something uterine? Is that just a mistake?
That's a great question. It actually gets right to the heart of, how complex biology is. USAG1 is what's known as a pleiotropic gene, meaning it does multiple things in different body systems. It was just first identified for its role in the uterus, so the name stuck. But in our teeth, its job is incredibly specific. It acts as a natural brake on tooth growth.
A brake.
A biological brake. Evolution seems to have put it there to make sure we stop growing teeth after our second set.
So if USAG1 is the brake stopping us from growing, say, a third set of teeth, then this drug, TRG035, is basically the key that removes that brake.
That is exactly it. The science shows most of us actually have dormant tooth buds.
You're kidding.
Nope. Think of them as blueprints for a third set of teeth, just sitting there, silent. USAG1's whole job is to keep those blueprints filed away.
How does it do that?
It interferes with two really critical pathways for development. The BMP, or bone morphogenetic protein pathway, and the WANT signaling pathway.
And these are the go signals.
They're the gas pedals for tooth formation. So by neutralizing USAG1, TRG035 releases the brake, and that lets those gas pedals, BMP and WANT, turn the whole process back on.
That is just profound. So we're not creating something new. We're unlocking a potential that we've had all along.
We are.
So before they even thought about trying this in humans, what did the animal studies show? Did this unlock mechanism actually work?
The preclinical trials were incredibly successful. Crucial, really. They gave the antibody to mice, ferrets, even dogs.
Yeah.
And in every case, it resulted in the growth of new, fully functional teeth. What really got everyone's attention, though, was how it was administered. It was a single intravenous injection.
One shot.
One shot. That's a total game changer. I mean, think about it. A single non-invasive treatment that could replace multiple complex surgeries.
Okay, so this is where we move from the lab to the real world, which is always the tricky part of any breakthrough. The trials are happening now.
They are. Phase I started at Kyoto University Hospital.
Right. In this first study, it's about 30 healthy adults, all missing at least one molar. What's the main goal with this first group? Is it just to see if it works?
Not primarily, no. A Phase I trial is all about safety and dosage, first and foremost. They're looking at how the body metabolizes the drug, finding the right dose, and watching like a hawk for any side effects.
So even if teeth start regrowing, that's just a bonus at this stage.
It's a fantastic bonus, but yes, it's secondary. You absolutely have to prove it's safe before you can even think about using it widely. They have to show that turning off this USAG1 brake doesn't cause some other, unintended problem.
And that's the big question, right? If you're flipping on a growth switch that affects powerful things like WENT and BMP signaling, is there a risk of uncontrolled growth, like tumors?
Absolutely. That is the #1 fear for any regulator.
Yeah.
The really reassuring thing from all the preclinical work is that the drug seems to be highly specific. While those pathways, WENT and BMP, are broad, The activation seems to be really localized to those dormant tooth buds.
So it's not just causing random growth everywhere.
Exactly. It's not stimulating bone or tissue growth from scratch. It's designed to trigger an existing potential, which significantly lowers that risk of tumor formation. But of course, they're monitoring for it constantly.
That context is so important. So, okay, let's talk strategy then. If the big prize is treating general tooth loss for adults, why is the first fast-tracked application focused on a small group of children?
That's a very strategic move. They're targeting children with a condition called severe congenital hypodontia.
What is that?
It's a rare and devastating condition where you're born missing 6 or more of your permanent teeth. It affects about 1% of people.
And why start there?
2 big reasons. First, there's no good treatment for these kids. You can't really do implants until their jaw has stopped growing. Second, and this is key, it qualifies for orphan drug designation in Japan.
And that speeds everything up.
Dramatically. It means government grants, tax breaks, and a prioritized review from regulators. It's the fastest path to getting the drug approved, even if it's for a very specific, rare population to start.
That makes perfect sense. But even in the adult safety trials, were there any hints that the drug was doing more than just being safe?
Yes, and this is where it gets really exciting. Even though Phase I is about safety, there have been preliminary reports of, well, spontaneous regrowth in a few of the adult participants.
Wow.
The experts involved are calling it a game changer. Now, we have to be cautious. These are very early reports from a safety trial, but it's a huge sign that the core mechanism works in humans.
So the injection, TRG-035, is one path. A revolutionary one.
Mm-hmm.
But our sources point to another route that sounds even more ambitious, tissue engineering.
Right?
This sounds way more complex than just a shot in the arm. How is this different from just unlocking a gene we already have?
It's completely different. Tissue engineering is about creating a whole living tooth germ, a biological organ from scratch, outside the body.
Like building it piece by piece.
Kind of like biological architecture, yeah. You'd start with stem cells, maybe from wisdom teeth or dental pulp. You combine them with a biomaterial that acts as a scaffold, a framework, and then you add molecular signals, things like BMP2, to tell the cells what to become: enamel, dentin, pulp. And the final assembly often needs something like 3D bioprinting to get the structure just right.
So we're going from unlocking potential to literally building a new mini organ.
Okay.
If we can do that, what makes it better than a high-end titanium implant? Those are already pretty successful.
The single biggest advantage, the holy grail, really, is creating a functional periodontal ligament, the PDL.
The PDL. Explain that for us.
That's the complex web of fibers that anchors a natural tooth to your jawbone. A titanium implant just fuses to the bone. It's rigid, unmoving.
Go ahead.
But a bioengineered tooth anchored by this living PDL provides something called proprioception.
Proprioception. So what does that feel like for me day to day?
Think about chewing. With a natural tooth, you can feel the difference in pressure between biting into an apple versus a piece of bread. Your brain gets constant feedback on force and shock.
I see.
An implant doesn't have that. If you bite down too hard, there's no sensory feedback to warn you. The PDL in a bioengineered tooth acts as a shock absorber and a sensor. It behaves exactly like the original tooth did. It brings that sensory function back.
Just having that feeling back sounds like a huge improvement in quality of life. What's the best evidence that they've actually pulled this off? Creating a functional PDL.
One of the most convincing studies was done with Yucatan mini pigs. Their jaw structure is very similar to ours.
Right.
They implanted these bioengineered tooth buds into the pigs' jaws, and after a few months, they confirmed it. They found not just tooth-like tissues, but critically, they found functional, load-bearing periodontal ligament tissues.
So it worked?
It proved that the whole complex structure, sensory function and all, could be successfully transplanted and integrated into a living jaw.
Okay, so if that's functionally superior to an implant, why would anyone even bother with the injection approach? What's the big downside for tissue engineering?
The downside is almost entirely about complexity, logistics, and cost. It's a marvel of biomanufacturing, but it requires specialized labs, long cultivation times, and advanced 3D printers.
So it's hard to scale up.
Incredibly hard and likely very, very expensive, at least at first. The injection, on the other hand, is a monoclonal antibody. That's a pretty straightforward thing to manufacture at scale, and it's administered in one quick visit. It is, by definition, a scalable solution.
So for most people listening right now, the standard of care is still the titanium implant. And modern implantology is amazing, but they are still substitutes. Let's just list the limitations before we talk about a realistic timeline.
The limitations are pretty significant when you compare it to a living organ. First, even a good implant has a predicted survival of maybe 15 to 20 years before it might need work.
Yeah.
Second, there are risks like peri-implantitis. It's a chronic inflammation around the implant that can affect a huge number of patients over time.
And what about the jawbone itself?
That's the other big one. Because the implant is rigid, it doesn't provide that natural stimulation, which can lead to jawbone atrophy or resorption over the long term. We're really talking about moving from managing a foreign object to telling the body to heal itself.
So this brings us to the big question. A French dental congress provocatively asked, regrowing teeth in 2025, myth or reality? Based on everything we've looked at, what is the real timeline for a typical adult who lost a tooth a decade ago? Is 2025 even remotely possible?
No. 2025 is definitely a myth for the general public. Even the much talked about date of 2030 is very specific.
Oh, so?
2030 is a realistic target only for the approval of TRG-035 in those rare cases of congenital hypodontia.
Because of that orphan drug fast track.
Exactly. For the wider adult population, people with acquired tooth loss, the timeline is considerably longer.
Why such a big delay for a regular patient? What are the hurdles you just can't rush?
Well, the general adult population is just much more complex. You have a huge diversity of cases. You need extensive phase 2 and phase 3 trials. These have to look at long-term safety, but also sustained efficacy. Does the new tooth last for years?
And what about the condition of the jaw itself?
That's the other critical part. If you lost a tooth years ago, you probably have bone loss in that area. The drug has to prove it can work even in that kind of compromised environment.
So the science might be moving fast.
Incredibly fast.
But the regulatory process is deliberately slow to make sure it's safe for everyone.
Precisely. There's a phrase in science, allegro ma non troppo. Fast, but not too fast. If everything goes perfectly, general access for most adults is probably more like the mid to late 2030s. It's coming, but caution takes time.
So we've confirmed it today. The promise is real. This is not fake news. But the reality is very nuanced.
Very.
We have these two parallel paths. The TRG-035 drug, which is about unlocking dormant potential in a scalable way, and the more complex tissue engineering, which promises a functionally superior tooth.
And both are, for now, focused on proving safety and treating very specific, rare diseases first.
We are literally watching dentistry shift from mechanical replacement to biological regeneration right now in real time.
And that shift brings up a really important question for you to think about. If biological teeth, whether from an injection or a lab, become common by the 2040s, how does the massive global dental industry, which is built on titanium and ceramics, how does it adapt?
That's a great question.
What skills will the dentist of 2040 need most when their job is more about molecular biology and regeneration than it is about mechanics and materials?
That is a phenomenal thought to leave everyone with. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the absolute cutting edge of regenerative dentistry. We hope you found these insights valuable.
We really do aim to break down these complex topics and give you the knowledge you need to stay ahead of the curve.
You can help support us as we continue to explore these fascinating subjects. We're hoping to reach 2,000 subscribers, so please share Le Podcast de Philippe with anyone else who loves a good deep dive into surprising new knowledge. Until next time.